Imagine standing 1,454 feet above the streets of Manhattan. No harness, no safety rope, no second chance. Below you, millions of people move through their ordinary day, completely unaware that two individuals are balancing on one of the most recognizable skyscrapers in the world. Every gust of wind carries consequences. Every step is irreversible. And yet, instead of freezing, they continue climbing with remarkable precision and composure. When Angela Nicolau and Ivan Birkus climbed the Empire State Building on July 1, 2026, unfurled a banner, and later celebrated a marriage proposal during the descent, the internet immediately divided into two opposing camps. Some viewed it as breathtaking art, others saw only unimaginable recklessness. But reducing the event to either admiration or condemnation misses the far more fascinating question. Why would anyone willingly place themselves in a situation where a single mistake could cost everything? To understand that question, we have to move beyond headlines, social media reactions, and viral photographs. We have to examine the psychology of extreme risk, the neuroscience of sensation-seeking, the power of identity, and the uniquely human desire to pursue meaning in places where most people see only danger. The first concept is something psychologists call sensation-seeking. Not everyone experiences risk in the same way. Research has consistently shown that some individuals possess nervous systems that require much stronger stimulation to experience excitement. What feels terrifying to the average person may simply feel normal to someone with a high sensation-seeking personality. For most people, standing near the edge of a skyscraper instantly activates the brain's survival systems. The amygdala signals danger, stress hormones flood the body, heart rate increases, muscles tense. Every instinct screams one message: step back. But people who repeatedly expose themselves to extreme environments undergo a gradual psychological adaptation. Fear never completely disappears. Instead, they learn to function alongside it. Their relationship with danger changes. Rather than becoming overwhelmed by fear, they begin interpreting it as information. Fear becomes something to manage instead of something to escape. That distinction is incredibly important. Professional rooftopers are often misunderstood as people who simply do not feel fear. In reality, many of them experience fear more frequently than most people ever will. The difference is that years of repetition transform fear into familiarity, and familiarity changes behavior. This leads us directly into another fascinating psychological phenomenon: the dopaminergic reward loop. Our brains are designed to reward experiences that are emotionally significant. Completing a difficult challenge, achieving an important goal, or surviving an intense situation all trigger powerful releases of dopamine, reinforcing behavior and encouraging us to seek similar experiences again. However, the brain has a remarkable ability to adapt. Experiences that once produced extraordinary excitement eventually become ordinary. Psychologists often describe this as habituation. The baseline shifts. An achievement that once felt life-changing gradually loses its emotional intensity. Someone who once felt exhilarated climbing a small mountain may eventually seek taller peaks. A skydiver who once found a single jump unforgettable may later require increasingly difficult formations or more technically demanding dives to experience that same psychological reward. The activity itself hasn't changed, the brain has. For experienced rooftopers, climbing extremely tall buildings eventually becomes part of their normal experience. The emotional threshold rises. To recreate the same intensity, the challenge itself often has to evolve. In this particular case, the climb wasn't simply another ascent. It combined multiple emotionally powerful experiences into a single defining moment. An illegal climb, one of the world's most recognizable buildings, an international audience, a symbolic banner, and one of the most important personal milestones imaginable, a marriage proposal. Each individual element carries enormous emotional weight. Together, they create a moment unlike anything either person had previously experienced. From a psychological perspective, the event wasn't just about reaching the top. It was about creating an experience that permanently separated itself from every other memory. The danger became part of what made the memory unforgettable. The next layer involves identity. Human beings don't simply perform actions. We build identities around repeated behaviors. Over time, actions become stories, and stories become who we believe we are. Angela Nicolau and Ivan Birkus have spent years documenting climbs around the world. They are not simply people who occasionally climb buildings. Their public identity has become deeply intertwined with exploration, fear, artistic photography, and extreme heights. When behavior becomes identity, changing the behavior becomes psychologically difficult. The climb is no longer just an activity. It becomes an expression of self. Walking away from that identity can feel almost like abandoning a part of who you are. That helps explain why many extreme athletes continue pursuing increasingly ambitious challenges, even after achieving worldwide recognition. External success isn't always enough, because internally, they are continuing a story they believe defines them. Another crucial psychological element is the role of social validation. Long before social media existed, human survival depended on belonging to a group. Acceptance meant protection. Recognition increased status. Being valued improved opportunities. Our brains still respond to those ancient social mechanisms today. Only now, validation arrives through millions of screens instead of small communities. When a camera enters the environment, behavior changes. Psychologists have repeatedly observed that performing before an audience increases motivation, emotional intensity, and willingness to take risks. Even when the audience isn't physically present, simply knowing that millions of people may eventually watch can influence decision-making. This is sometimes called audience amplification. The experience becomes larger because it will be witnessed. The photograph isn't merely documentation, it becomes part of the achievement itself. The image captured high above Manhattan wasn't only recording history, it was helping create it. The emotional reward existed both in the moment and in the anticipation of how that moment would echo across the world. That doesn't necessarily mean attention was the only motivation. Human motivation is rarely that simple. People often pursue experiences for multiple reasons simultaneously. Personal meaning, creative expression, adventure, recognition, identity, connection, purpose. All of these can exist together. One motivation does not erase another. Perhaps the most emotionally fascinating aspect of this story is that it involved two people rather than one. Most discussions focus on the physical risk. Far fewer examine the psychology of partnership under extreme conditions. Trust changes human behavior. When two individuals repeatedly experience dangerous situations together, they develop extraordinary confidence in one another. Psychologists sometimes describe this as a shared mental model. Each person learns how the other thinks, reacts, moves, and communicates under pressure. Over time, they begin functioning almost like a single, coordinated system. That trust is incredibly powerful. It can improve performance, reduce hesitation, increase confidence. But it also introduces a psychological paradox. The stronger the trust becomes, the easier it can be to underestimate objective danger. Confidence in your partner gradually transforms into confidence in the situation itself. The emotional feeling of safety becomes disconnected from the actual level of risk. Two people standing together on a narrow steel beam may genuinely feel secure because they trust each other completely. Physics, however, remains indifferent to emotion. Gravity does not recognize confidence. Wind does not negotiate with trust. Reality obeys mathematics, not psychology. This is where human perception and objective risk often diverge. Emotion tells one story, probability tells another. The event also illustrates something profoundly human. People don't simply seek survival, they seek significance. History is filled with individuals willing to endure extraordinary hardship or extraordinary danger in pursuit of meaning. Explorers crossed oceans without knowing what lay beyond the horizon. Mountaineers climbed peaks that offered no financial reward. Astronauts accepted unimaginable risks to leave Earth's atmosphere. Artists devoted entire lives to creations that might never receive recognition. While rooftopping exists in a completely different ethical and legal context, it reflects the same underlying psychological drive, the desire to experience something so extraordinary that ordinary existence no longer feels sufficient. That desire can inspire remarkable achievements. It can also lead to devastating consequences, which is why events like this generate such intense public debate. Some viewers focus on courage, others focus on recklessness. Some admire the discipline required to execute such a climb. Others see only unnecessary danger. Both reactions emerge from the same reality. The climb was simultaneously an astonishing display of physical control and an act carrying potentially catastrophic consequences. Those two truths can exist together. Acknowledging the extraordinary skill involved should never be confused with encouraging imitation. The physical reality remains unchanged. One unexpected gust of wind, one structural miscalculation, one momentary lapse in concentration, and the outcome becomes irreversible. No amount of confidence, experience, or preparation can eliminate every variable. Perhaps that is why this event captivated the world. It forces us to confront two opposing aspects of human nature. One part of us longs for safety, stability, and predictability. Another part is endlessly fascinated by people willing to step beyond those boundaries. Most of us would never climb an antenna nearly 1,500 feet above one of the busiest cities on Earth. Yet millions cannot stop watching those who do. Because somewhere beneath the fear, beneath the controversy, and beneath the headlines, lies a question that has followed humanity throughout history. How far will people go in search of purpose? For Angela Nicolau and Ivan Birkus, the answer was found high above Manhattan, where love, art, identity, ambition, and extraordinary risk converged into a single unforgettable moment. Whether history ultimately remembers that climb as fearless devotion, controversial performance art, or reckless defiance will always depend on perspective. But from a psychological standpoint, it serves as a remarkable case study in how identity, reward, emotion, trust, and meaning can combine to push human beings far beyond the boundaries where most people would ever choose to stand. And perhaps that is the most fascinating lesson of all. The greatest heights humanity reaches are not always measured in feet. Sometimes they are measured in the extraordinary lengths people are willing to go to pursue the stories they believe define who they are. If this message hit your core and woke you up, make sure to support the channel. I am Kripesh Baaral. Subscribe right now. Hit that like button. Drop your thoughts in the comments section below, and click that bell icon so you never miss a single deep dive. Connect with me directly across all platforms.